thank you everyone for joining us. We're very excited to chat to you today at the end of what was an extremely busy 2025 for all of you as well as for us. And I'm delighted to have a friend of ours on board, the CEO and co-founder of Players First, Morten Bisgaard. Morten, how are you?
Great, thanks. And you, Bodo?
Yeah, all good. Very excited to dig into some data today, which is second nature for the two of us, right? So we want to talk about 5 critical 2025 industry data learnings to implement next season. And our goal is to share some data that you may or may not have seen. Obviously, it's just the tail end of the season, and give you some hands-on considerations and takeaways that you can take back to your course and consider implementing and learning from for the season ahead. And also fully mindful that some of you may have a winter break now where others are just getting into the swing of things, right? So there will be something there for all of you. Okay, Morten, why don't you do an introduction on Players First for us?
Thanks. For those of you who don't know about Players First, we actually see ourselves as a community of more than 3,000 golf courses, golf associations, and partners that loves golf and data. That's basically everything we do, and there's not room enough on the right side of the screen here to put all our partners on. But here's a view that kind of shows what type of partners we work with. And when we say partners, it's golf operators, whether it's private golf clubs, it's daily fee, semi-private, it's associations, it's industry vendors. It's basically everything that works with golf and data, and that's basically why we're here. And the data we love, just to sum it up simply, it's what we call experience data. That's probably where most of you have heard about Players First, either as a golfer playing a round of golf, receiving a post-round survey. Often they come from us. We gather that into a big data set that we share with the industry and with our partners. But we actually do much more than that. We also a data hub for operational data as well. Mainly together with our federation partners, we actually collect and visualize and tell stories about rounds played, utilization rates across many countries. And lastly, financial data linking into accounting platforms in order to pull your data from that and linking it to all the other data. But what is the effect of improving a net promoter score from 60 to 70? We can actually see that in the data. And our framework that we operate within, it's something we call the data maturity model. But basically, this is our why. This is how we live and breathe data in our daily life. Our overall goal is basically to educate the golf industry around how to move from what happened to actually how can we make it happen. So one thing is when we're looking at the data that's out there today, if you have your T-sheet booking or your counting system, it's very much looking backwards. It's very descriptive. It's actually showing you what have already happened. But if we could just move the ambitions to a little up the ladder to say and try to explain why did it actually happen based on the data, then we have much more information in order to be able to optimize our business. And of course, moving higher and higher up that ladder, we can actually be able to predict if we continue like this, what will actually look like, both financially, but also from a golfer experience side of it. And of course, the end goal is to say, how can we create our own future based on data? So this is kind of the framework we always engage with our partners.
That's fantastic. Just 2 questions for you. The first one is, what do you consider a lot of data? Obviously, we're going to dig into quite a bit of Net Promoter Score data that is sampled from a lot of golfer feedback. But what sort of numbers are we talking? Is it a couple of hundred? Is it a couple of thousand? Where does place first sit here?
Yeah, so with over 3,000 golf courses using our platform, we've had more than 10 million golfers giving feedback to that. So currently we are um, receiving around 100,000 responses every month from golfers all over. So I would say we have a pretty good um, feeling of what's actually going on, basically the pulse of golf. And with such a big data set, you can really uh, drill down and find some very interesting stories. And we'll get back to that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. So obviously, data based on a couple of million feedback items is substantial, right? And the other question I have, if you're looking at that ladder model here, that step up model, where does a golf course find themselves after, say, 2 years of working with you and the Place First platform?
Uh, I would say that definitely, hopefully, they're in the insight section. So somewhere between why did it actually happen, trying to understand why the numbers are as they are, but also being able to forecast what will actually happen. Actually, next quarter we will release a churn prediction model where we will be able to predict up to 70% of all churn happening in a golf course, and of course, all our clients and partners that will be using that model will definitely take a big step up the ladder.
Sure. Yeah, churn is a big opportunity, right? And golf as a whole needs to do a bit better. That's some of the data we're going to look at. But let me do a quick introduction on Tagmarshal. Yeah, my name is Bodo Sieber, the CEO and co-founder. We are very proudly nearing the 100 million rounds tracked mark. So we're Morten and the Players First team count how many golf courses do we work with, how many responses do we get, which gets into the millions. We looking at how many rounds are we tracking and improving. With all these rounds come, yeah, billions of data points, right? Every single round has got lots of locational data, player information, and insights on what happened on the golf course. And yeah, we are getting also close to 1,000 courses, certainly in the 2026 season when spring arrives, we'll be there. And we're very blessed to work with some of the very best courses, and a lot of them are familiar partners to you as well at Players First. There's your Pinehurst, there's your Adair Manor, which are the future hosts of the Ryder Cup. There's your Erin Hills, which has been a partner of ours for 10 years up in Wisconsin, and all the way to some really fantastic private clubs like Baltusrol, Valhalla, hosted the PGA Champs last year, Shinnecock Hills, and so on. I never know if I'm allowed to mention Pebble Beach, but I know the team is on, so maybe next time, guys. We also work with the DP World Tour. We track some of those big tour events. They've got different requirements for our system. It's much more lightweight, where the day-to-day operators, they really want the depth of data that's available at their operation. And it's really operational data. Anything that happens on the golf course, we want to track it, we want to understand it, and we want to get the most out of it. And the tool set that we use for that is there's some technology involved. So generally, that's tech that gets installed in a golf cart. So that may be what we call a classic tracker, or it may be a 10-inch or an 8-inch GPS unit that can also then talk to the players and inform them on their status, and also have interactive elements like Golf Genius integration for scoring, for instance, food orders and that. And then we also have walking units, and our latest foray into more tech on the golf course is the wind tag, where we're measuring wind live on the green, so that helps the players make better club decisions. Also, everything here is to speed up the game, speed up the pace, and also ensure that there's operational efficiencies, and ultimately that leads to considerable opportunities around optimizing how can we actually get more players out there safely, right? And that gets done with a live map, which is your Google Maps or Waze of what happens on your golf course, and lots of backend data And I do have to agree with you. It is not something that you can just learn in a week, right? It is a golf course is a complex engine. It does take a bit of time, but we have obviously a team of PGA pros in our customer success team that help our partners dial into this data. And also we using AI and machine learning to really distill it and make sure that there's actionable insights. And that's why we're as excited as you are that we have an integration brewing that we're going to pull some of our data together so that there's insights from both what happens on the course and what did the players take home in terms of their post-round sentiment. And obviously we've got integrations with all the going tee sheets too. So this is our world. And I just want to bring your attention very briefly before we dig into some of the data, like what does it actually mean to optimize our operation? For us, it means, well, let's get control into this difficult to manage on-course scenario where you've got 200 golfers out there, right? And lots of bottlenecks and lots of different variables like, is this a good golfer? Is it a bad golfer? Are they a repeat player? Are they new? Are they a member? Are they a guest? Are they a senior golfer? Are they young? Are they a scratch golfer? Are they a beginner? Like all of these things need managing, right? And a lot of golfers then look at, well, what's our available daylight hours and how many golfers can we process here? And then at some point, somebody made a decision, right? There's an interval that we're going to run, right? And that might be 10 minutes or 11 minutes, or some are a bit more aggressive and they might run 8 minutes. There are even times and the dark days of golf where golf courses loaded their course and they try to run 6 or 7 minutes, and that's probably not recommended. But why should we care, right? Why don't we just run 15 minutes and make sure there's lots of space on a golf course? Well, this is your business engine, right? There's an immediate impact on why we should care, and the difference based on a $90 average spend, which is your green fee, your cart rental, your post-round and halfway house food and beverage. The one gives you a 4 million baseline business, and the other one, 18 additional rounds of tee times, gives you a 6 million revenue business. So that's 2 million reasons why you should dial into this. And this is obviously what we're here for, and we have the technology and ways to do that. Not again at the push of a button. It's not magic. It's something that you need to understand and work into and have the technology to execute on. But over time, within a season, within 2 seasons, you can really get very far, and we can speed things up and control things, run things at 9 minutes, at 11 minutes, at the peak of the day, and then speed things up again, and all the way until we get you to that. We are very good at being busy point, right? And it really is a business game changer. And again, we need to know, have we been successful in the experience we're creating on a golf course? Are we loading it correctly? Are we getting the right players at the right time? And we need to know that has it landed with them post-round, right? So that's why Players First is such an essential integration partner to us, so that we have that real-time feedback. Have we been successful? Because it shows in the numbers, yes, but it also needs to show in what the players are taking away and do they want to come back. Some of those trends we want to look at now. So the 2025 industry trends. One of the trends that has come out of the season, yes, we are still growing. The industry in terms of participation, in terms of rounds sold is still growing. That's good. There's obviously a big weather factor, and 2025 start of year, North America certainly hasn't been so kind. So we lost a couple of percentage point on weather opportunity. That's the gamble, right? But what do we need to focus on, right? We need to keep attracting new recruits. There is a very definite, and Morten will talk to this, pre-COVID, post-COVID difference in players, and you've all experienced that, right? Like we often talk to operators that said we're basically at 40-50% up in golf, right? It's so busy. How do we accommodate these players? Well, we need to tee sheet optimize. How can we get more players out and also ensure that the experience is great for them? And this is the key factor, is retention. Retention is key. We need to hold on to our player base. So the one number that came out of Golf Inc., and that was shared by Pellucid Research, is that 21% of public golfers get lost to public golf every season. That is a huge number. It's literally uh, hundreds and thousands of people that we're losing, and we have to first fill them back into the funnel, right? Attracting new players. Um, is there maybe another data point, Morten, that you can share before we dig into yeah, what the Net Promoter Scores say when it comes to when do players actually get lost to the game? Is it somebody who's been with the game for 10 years, or does that happen at a different juncture?
Well, we saw two types of golfers coming back after COVID. It was the golfer who took a break from golf, came back, um, and then there was a whole new group of golfers trying golf for the first time,
Mm,
and especially the new group of golfers trying golf for the first time. We could definitely see that they're struggling more to stay in the game.
mhm,
Um, Around 50% of all new golfers they leave golf with or the golf club within the first 2 years. So
mm,
you have the first 2 years to really make sure that you create enough attraction in order to keep them in the game. If you can get past those 2 years, you will have a lifelong member, more or less.
yeah,
But it's not only about attracting them into your golf course, it's actually attracting them into golf in general. So
mm,
that's a general problem in all golf courses. That we're really not good enough at converting top of funnel
mm.
or even mid funnel into lifelong members.
Yeah, I think you're raising a very good point. And I know that you've yeah dug into your data here to share a little bit about the Net Promoter Score. Why don't you just do us a favor and just explain the principle of the Promoter Score quickly before you show us what these numbers say?
Yeah, just super quickly. Basically, we ask one question to all golfers: How likely is it that you would recommend this golf course to friends, family, and colleagues? And based on that, we do some calculation and calculate a score. And it's like not only for golf but also outside golf, the kind of the benchmark for recommendation. You also call it an ambassador score.
Mhm,
Um, so we can benchmark against each other. And we've been tracking NPS, Net Promoter Score, for the past 9 years in US around public golf, and we could definitely see a drop in satisfaction or ambassador degree uh, after COVID. Um, and it is so clear. And we were, of course, interested in seeing if we could bounce back
mhm.
and just go one slide back again, Bodo. We have actually kind of this is just a new normal right now. So how can we look at the data? How can we use the data and say, well, this is the new normal? There's also new segments coming into golf with um, different expectations. We will get back to that, but it's I think it's a problem for golf. We're talking about the big numbers of golf is still growing, but I think it's a problem that we really haven't figured out to bounce back, because if the level stays here, we will see those churn rates keep at the same level or even being even higher. And at some
Mhm.
point, we will uh, need more top of funnel, and but the funnel will be empty, and then we will have a problem again. And of course, a score of 51, that's it doesn't say a lot, but it's an average. And if we double click on that and go to the next slide, Bodo, uh, we are also just trying to split it out on different facility types within the golf industry, and we can see whether you are resort or semi-private facility where you get the highest scores on Net Promoter. Daily fee, just highlighted that, is the biggest segment here in this data set. But we can see especially municipal golf took a really big hit this year compared to last year. And whether it's uh, because of the high demand on pace of play, and maybe also um, lack of resources,
Mm.
data in order to handle that. We will get back to that. I just put in private courses as well. There's a little asterisk basically because that's not public golf, but that's private golf, and
Mhm.
it's member in NPS. So and it's also increasing a little bit. But it's just to show when you're comparing your NPS across various segments of the industry, you need to be aware that there are some different levels here. So it's you're not comparing uh, apples to oranges and so on.
Sure. Well, I as an entrepreneur, right, and as a business owner, I see so much opportunity here, right? And I'm putting myself in the shoes of a club manager, and it's obviously this is big picture, right? This is the globe of golf. This is US golf data. Um, are we just going to be, yeah, watching this and then we are a little part in it? No, I think we have massive opportunity, especially because things are not optimized to do things differently at our golf course, and be a shining light here, right? Because golfers don't want to leave the game after 2 years. Like they've invested, right? They got the clubs, they got the kit, they got their coaching, they're getting finally getting somewhere, and they got their handicap, they're getting better. They really want to stay with the game. That's why they started. How can we make sure that we retain them, and how can we also do right by the long-term players, and the scratch players? So the opportunity for us to really do things a bit differently to our competitors actually compounds here, right? Because if we are one of the better golf courses in the area, more golfers will come play with us because our experience shines through, and that's what players talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
and just one final comment, if you could go back, Bodo. I think
yeah,
it's especially that we see some of the top of the funnel for new golfers is often the municipal course, right? So if that's your first experience and it's overcrowded and it's just it's maybe not the greatest place to start your golf, especially in the environment we have right now. Maybe 5 years ago, it was a different game, but right now we're definitely seeing some issues in the municipal space here.
sure. Um, Yeah, there are lots to discuss, but we want to go to our first point in terms of what can you take away here for in terms of consideration. So one of the items is how can we tailor the player experience to different golfer segment needs? Um, Golf is not just one homogeneous crowd, right? There's ages, there's ability, there's gender, right? So we want to make sure that we cater to the different segments. So where do you see the data trends here in terms of which groups doing well, which groups not doing not so well?
Um, yeah, but I would say that there's definitely well, basically it's the next couple of slides, but you can definitely see that you need to dig into the data. It's not a very the experience is not the same for everyone. Uh, but if you go to the next slide, Bodo, I can elaborate a little bit more. Basically, here two segments or two different ways of looking at the golfers at your golf course. Of course, gender. This is overall. This is based on a million responses. Um, and we see this trend in every country, not only US. The women are just more happy golfers than men. Um, we can also see there's a what we call like a happiness curve in life. It also relates to golf. The older you
Mhm.
are, the more happy you are. But of course, when you see some of the new trends of the new segments coming into golf, the new golfers, the younger golfers, it is a little bit concerning that they actually the most uh, dissatisfied group of golfers overall. And I think it's something we need to take very serious.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. I mean, the biggest cohort of players now are 18 to 34, right? Golf is really been wishing for that, younger players joining the game, but they have maybe slightly different expectations, and but they are the future. And I know every single club out there is looking at how can we get more women to join the game, how can we get younger people to join the game. We need to make sure that we bump these numbers up here from a, I like that other term that you use, ambassador score range. Yeah, tell us a bit more about yeah, what the data says across the age brackets.
Yes, so if we split the Net Promoter Score by gender and age, we can see that there's a nice correlation here. But especially, I think the largest segment coming in is under 18 boys, and they are definitely in the lower lowest end of the Net Promoter Score in regards of your overall golfer groups. But basically, it's this is your golfers, and these are the ones you need to target your products to. And if we're just looking at the female, I don't have the percentages here on how many is in each group,
Mhm.
but in the women, the age groups from 50 to 75 is taking up 75% of all the golfers, of all the female golfers. So the
Mhm.
women
Okay.
tends to be a bit older playing golf than the male golfers. So how do you match that conflict in the golf course itself? So you have a very young male group coming in, and you also have a big group of women, mature women playing golf. How do you match those expectations on the same course? And I think that's the big question.
Sure. No, 100%. I have a 16-year-old son, and I know him and his friends. It's really hard for them to commit and say this was amazing, right? So they also have high expectations, and also they don't want to be found out at saying this was really cool, because if one of their friends said no, it wasn't, then they very quickly change their minds. So I think that under 18s, I don't know, we need to take that under advisement if we can trust their net promoter score. But yeah, certainly the that 18 to 30, that under 40s, that is key to golf, right? And we want to make sure that we do whatever we can in little incremental ways to bump this up, because that is where the retention happens, right? These
Yeah.
are the players that we can tie to the game for the next 30 years, where yeah, your 75 and up range. Well, if they have a number of years on the golf course, that's fantastic, but it's unlikely going to be yeah, a long-term future player. So we really have to look at that age segment. Yeah, I love that you've got more daily fee golfer data here. What is it telling us?
Yes, so basically here we're trying to look at skill level, um, and so we also track your handicap index compared to your Net Promoter Score, and this is again a general pattern we see. Basically, golf is a fantastic game, right? So the more skilled you are, the more unhappy you are. Or you could turn it the other way around. The worse you are playing golf, the more happy you are. And I think that's fantastic. But it's of course a bit concerning that the three major groups of golfers are the least happy here
Mm,
in regards of who's playing the most.
sure. Yeah, I guess that's where the golf addiction really hits hard, right? And not every high is as good as the last one. But it is the nature of the beast. But we have to make sure that we also, that the other question to ask is how much golf gets played by those committed players that are lower handicappers. Are they likely to play 20, 30 rounds a year versus somebody who's a self-proclaimed hacker? They're going to play 5 rounds a year, right? So who's driving more dollars here? That's another big question to ask, so that we can bet on the right horses. But at the same time, we want to make sure that yeah, golf is open and inviting new players, because we need them, right?
If you just
Yep.
take just go one back again, Bodo, sorry. If you just take the three lowest handicap groups and pile them
Mhm.
together, they say that they play at least one to two other courses, daily fee courses a week. So, and that's not the course, your course, it's your competitors' courses.
Sure.
So they play a lot of golf. It's I think NGF calls it the core golfer, right?
Mhm. The NGF is a National Golf Foundation,
Yeah.
and yeah, you with Pace First, obviously a critical data partner to them. Okay, so there is obviously one item here to consider also in terms of am I a better golfer? Yes, no. Am I a younger golfer? Yes, no, right? Because both groups have a different requirement around how quick should I be or what's my expectation playing this round and who's going to be ahead of me, right? If you're a good golfer, you want to get through this course in 3 hours 30 if you can, right? 4 hours, fantastic. If you're a younger golfer, you're going to work full time, and you know, you may have young kids, right? So your time commitment for golf is the biggest factor that makes you say, I can't play, I can't make it because time, not money, it's time, right? So when I'm out there, I want things to work. Whereas if I'm 70 and up, well, where am I going to be? You know, hopefully I'm retired, and this is great. And if it takes half an hour longer, well, it's not gonna be the end of it. Um, and also, yeah, if I'm just starting to enjoy myself and the score is not that important, well, I'm going to play 30 more shots. That's going to take a bit more time. Um, so yeah, how can I find a place on this golf course, right? Where if I've got three handicappers chasing me and glaring at me, that's not going to be a good experience for them or for me, right? So how are we going to make that work? But yeah, what is the data saying about the pace within the handicap split?
Yeah, so like you do, we actually also measure pace of play, but we don't measure the actual pace. We measure the perception of pace of play. So we ask the golfer, how was the pace of play from a scale to 1 to 10? And then we convert it into a 100-point scale. And when we can see when we're looking at the handicap index again here, the low handicapper is the most dissatisfied with the pace of play. And everyone here is an average, so they have everyone played at at the same golf course, but they just have different perceptions
Mm.
of what was the actual pace of play. And you need to understand that when you're, as you mentioned earlier, Bodo, are designing your tee sheet and
Sure.
also setting up your rounds and groups that you're sending out, because yeah, you can have two different perceptions of what is a good pace of play.
100%. Um, okay, so let's look at the
Yes, so
segment
it's
breakdown here in
yeah, so
terms
this
of
is
over
basically
time. This is over time. That's really interesting.
yeah, so this is the same. So I took the three biggest segments here with the lowest handicaps and just seeing the evolution over time. And of course, as we saw in the satisfaction or with the Net Promoter Score, there was a post-COVID reaction. So, and this is directly linked to pace of play. But of course, what is concerning is that one of the biggest segments in the lowest here is actually taking the biggest drop
Mhm.
in the low handicapper below 10. Actually, pace of play or the perception of pace of play, it peaked in April 2020,
Mhm.
where it reaches almost 90 out of 100. Just right after COVID broke out, there was a lot of space on the courses.
Yeah,
Those
sure.
were the optimal golfing days from
Yeah,
a low handicapper.
yeah, sure. And anyone who's experienced that, they will always remember that, and they know they can never have it back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And
Yes.
oh, this is also great. Like, what is your time in the game, and how you experience the pace?
Yeah, so this is actually from private courses. So this is private members, and the satisfaction with or perception of pace of play split on seniority. You know, and how long have you been a member of the club? And there's
Mhm.
definitely a trend where we can see that the ones that have been member for a longer period of time, they remember the good old days before COVID, where you could book your regular tea time Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and it would still be available. But it's interesting that a lot of new golfers coming into uh, uh, to the clubs, they don't
Yeah,
necessarily have the same perception or comparison to what is a good pace of play.
sure. Yeah, interesting. So obviously the world has changed a lot in 5 years, right? And I don't think there's where there may be golfers who played a fair bit of golf in 2019 and prior that was like, I wish we could go back there. I don't think there's a single operator who wants to go back there, right?
Yeah.
Because we were down 30, 40, sometimes 50% in play volume, and it was really tough to run your operation. And every dollar needed to be yeah turned twice. And could you do any capital expenditure investments is really difficult. Whereas now, we're really on the front foot, right? But we need to keep it that way, and that's why we need to listen to the data. Obviously fantastic to have this post-round data, and the Players First platform will give you that at your course daily, literally, and every week you can look at how we're doing, are we trending up or down on key items. But it all comes down to what happens out on the golf course and what happens in your at the facility with the players. And one of the things um, that that we always advocate is that you want to integrate your tee sheet so that it pulls onto the golf course. That is our live map, right? So that you know here the players that are in this playing group. And then we have opportunities to build profiles, but also we have opportunities to have additional data points that you can add and you can custom add them. You can say, hey, this is a low handicapper. We know this group, and they really have certain requirements, or this is a first-time player, or this is a guest, or this is a member, right? So we're looking at getting a bit more granular on the data, and we grab this from the T sheet as much as possible, but you can also add this yourself, because the more data you have, the more you will understand your business, right? And in our world, then we will look at, okay, this is a group of yeah, newbie golfers, or this is a guest as a member. Obviously, member, we're assuming they've played here many times. We know the names. If it's a first-time visitor to our daily fee golf course, we want to make sure that we give them a great experience so that they know their way around and that they will come back again next week with their friends, right? So we have this then trailing all the way deep into the system where every single round has a track map. That's a history of how this round went. And we will know who was in the group. Were there check-ins with our team on the golf course? Did they go into an area they were not supposed to go into with the geofence breach? What was their pace of play like? Were they holding up others? Were they being held up? Were they going perfectly fine? All of those things we have, and obviously we can live manage with personalized interactions too, right? So this is a really important opportunity that we need to take so that we don't just have like one big pot of soup, right? But we really look at the segmentation, and there's technology that helps you do that. The player profiles is another opportunity. If you've got repeat players, we can really build profiles on them, and then we will know from the get-go, this is a risk group. They're likely going to cause issues at your more difficult bottleneck areas, or this is a player that you can really trust, also with an early tee time, right? So the system then gives you insight into that, so you can manage things accordingly. And it all gathers that data with as much automation as possible. So just to sum up this section quickly, understand who's on your course. Different golfers want different experiences, right? So we need to tailor these interactions, communications accordingly. And you can really think about doing that if you have, and if you wanted to cater to scratch golfers, give them early tee time. Say the first half of the day, we want to challenge you to play this course in 3 hours, 40 minutes, because the data tells you that's possible. And then you You market that to your scratch golfers. They really want those tee times and they want to get through the course quickly. And you make them so happy that they will come back many times and they will even pay you higher rates, right? There's data that says they will pay, under 40s will pay 25% more happily for a quicker round of golf. Ask them for it, give it to them. Then you may have an afternoon section where you say, this is our uh, grandpa or grandma and grandchildren section, right? We're going to give an hour a week, and we're going to market it like that. We're actually going to add a bit more time in our intervals to give you guys a bit more time out there. Whereas in the morning, when people are flying through the golf course, the first 10 tee times, you can tighten that interval right down because you know that's you can trust these players with a higher pace. So think about segmentation like that, and then market accordingly, so that it's not a one size fits all buffet, but you really dedicate times of the week and days of the week, and times of the day to certain players. And more data equals more opportunity for personalized service. So if we pull in the data, we would really know this person's been here 20 times this season, right? We want to make them feel that, or this person's here for the very first time. Again, we want to make them feel that. Okay, let's look at our takeaway number 2. Be proactive and data-driven with pace management. Well, why is pace such a big deal? What does
Well,
net promoter score say about it?
yeah, so basically if the pace of play is bad, it has a direct impact on your net promoter score. It has a huge impact. And it's um whether you actually have a medium to good, there's not a big difference. But if you have a bad experience in pace of play, it has a huge impact. So if you can at least, as Bodo say, control worst case scenario, then you have already came a long way. So and I think it's about managing that so it doesn't come out of control because there's nothing worse than experience a bad round of pace play, and it also going to cost in the restaurants and food and beverage afterwards.
Sure. Yeah, like we obviously and that's what data says. We can't stress enough how bad that impact is, right? And it's totally unfair because if the pace is good, you would expect this is 80 points, right? It's fantastic, but no, people take that for granted. That is one of those really, um, yeah, those items that you have to keep investing in, so that you have the right to delight people on the golf course, and then everything else that you do shines. But if you don't do it, and if you think about it, everything else pales, and that's all they remember, right?
Yeah,
So that's where, again, a system that helps you live manage what happens out on the golf course in a yeah, preemptive and intuitive way. So you know immediately, hey, what's up with this group number 33? Okay, here are the player names. I don't recognize them. They must be new to the course. Okay, they're now 6 minutes off the pace, and they're on hole 5. Hole 3 and 4, they started to drop off, and now they're causing a real issue. They've got 2 groups behind them. I noticed within 5 seconds, right? And the operators that we work with, their teams really dial into that. They put a big screen to the clubhouse so the players can also see this. They communicate their pace expectations, and they have high competency around managing things. And then it's very easy to go out and either send a message on the system to reminding the players, or you can go and have an interaction that's based on data, and you really then understand also how does the course actually run, right? Not based on what somebody decided a number of years ago, but based on actual runtime, like hole by hole, tee box, fairway, green time. How do different days of the week run? What happens with this weather or that setup, right? So we really can dial into it, and then we get smarter and smarter, and then we can then segment different goal times. We can really start the day quicker, sometimes considerably quicker. We can also then tighten intervals and safely get more capacity out. And we've shown that to you earlier. It makes such a difference to have a few extra tee times. Your golfers want you to give them that tee time availability. They want to play, but you have to earn the right to create the right experience for them, and that needs to be managed. But there's nothing you can do that is that impactful in terms of the economic benefit, because it really trickles down into immediately there's more capacity to sell. Players are happier, right? There's high return rate, and you're holding on to them. So yeah, a few of the items that we want to look at here is early interventions. You need to catch these problems out on the golf course early because if you don't, they impact 20, 30 players, right? And they all have that same, oh, this wasn't great. It felt like 5 hours. And you've all seen this before, right? You need to understand how to allocate your resources and pay attention. And it's not 10 hours a day, let's just get somebody out there. Like it's really at key times of the day. So you can be very surgical about it once you have the data. And we need to communicate with players pre-round, at the check-in, the starter, and on the course and set expectations and reiterate expectations. And they need to know that the good pace that they experience today is by design, right? It wasn't a fluke. It's designed because we put so much effort into it and we take your time seriously. So here's an example of a course down in Texas, and they, you know, improving their pace season over season. Actually, it's within the same year, like by 19 minutes, and the percentage of players on pace shoots up. So that is immediately correlated with post-round sentiment and net promoter score also improving, right? And what they can do now is they can say, hey, our August average play time was 3 hours 53. Put that all over social media, sub 4 rounds. That's what the data says, right? And that attracts players. Okay, let's look at point number three. I'm trying to keep us on pace here, Morten. We're going to have to
Oh,
it up a tiny bit. Encourage positive on-course interactions. Well,
yes.
on-course interactions. What's the big deal?
Yes. It's always been a funny thing on course staff interaction. What is that? But that's basically everything, whether it's the cart girl or the marshal or the greenkeeper team. It's just a super important touch point for a golfer. Uh, and what we measure is again the effect of that. If you met on-course staff or not, how does that affect the overall net promoter score? 71% of all golfers meet on-course staff. Um, and we can see that there's a big difference. They're actually using that proactively in order to create engagement in the golfers and just creating a great experience. And especially if you're a marshal driving out to the guys or the group with 6 minutes behind, how can you actually turn that into a positive intervention uh,
Mm.
instead of being um, the policeman of the golf course of the pace of play? So that's actually an opportunity to engage and leave a positive mark. And it's just a super important touch point.
Yeah, 100% agree with you because yeah, the players don't want to be policed, but they do want to be looked after, right? In terms
Yeah.
of service, and there's somebody there to look after them. So again, having technology will help you knowing where the players are, right? Because if you're in your clubhouse, you don't have that, then well, where do you go? And also, there's strategic points where you can really get to a lot of players in a short amount of time. That's where holes converge, for instance, and you might strategically position a service ambassador there for half an hour, right? And just having a tablet with them that shows them what's going on, giving players a pat on the shoulder and say, hey, you guys are doing fantastic for pace. You're going to love how we set up hole number 5 today. And also there's a great special at the halfway house. So go check it out. The burger is awesome or whatever it is, right? Let's have these little action points and design your processes around that too, because they count for so much with the players. And then it's not a case of, half of your staff never speaks to players. No, like train them, educate them. Every interaction counts, and then certainly the whoever you've got in charge of your pace. And we always encourage flip the script on that. It doesn't have to be called a marshal or a ranger because players don't like that role. Make that a course ambassador, or it's just an assistant pro, right? So that the interactions are always positive. And then when it comes down to having a pace interaction where we need to help people along, we can. It is not confrontational because it's based on data, right? Because remember, in the old days, you don't have data. You look for a gap in the field. You will now go talk to that group, and your marshal might say, "Hey guys, you're slow, right? Get on with it. You're slow. You're holding up everybody." Players don't like to hear that, right? They will defend themselves and they take that away as this was a bad interaction on the golf course. So we can turn that around too. And an easy way to position that is, hey, I'm noticing you're a bit out of position. It's just a different way of saying it. You're out of position. That is a one-time event. It's not a you are slow, which is a you're always slow. A one-time event, help me get back in position. Easy, right? Let's catch up 6 minutes. Let's catch up half a hole. Make that constructive. And there's also some operators that have a fantastic sense of humor around it. So this is one of our good friends in Tennessee, Franklin Bridge. They have a whole campaign around that. And the note that they send out is please keep doing what you can to get closer to pace. The golf course, the country, and the galaxy all thank you, right? So this is now fun. People are having a laugh. And yes, they will speed up a little bit because it's a positive interaction. So our system even tracks those interactions, right? Because you want to make that part of your team's workflow and you have to hold them accountable because they have to get on top of these issues early and be proactive, but also every single other interactions they can have on the way, make that stick and make it positive because the players take that away and it's meaningful for their day out on the golf course. Remember they're out there for 4 hours, right? Yeah, and then we measure, have we addressed the groups at the right time and have we brought things back on track? Because if we don't, and if we don't care, and if we don't look, and if we're not proactive, the whole day goes out by half an hour. And now we have 50 people whose net promoter score is hurting. And one of them or two may even go onto Google and say, ooh, 5 hour round, can't come back here, right? 1 star rating. And that hurts. Mopping that up is much harder than being preemptive. Yeah, so really understanding that, holding your team accountable and flipping the script on these interactions is something that you can take away and do differently at your course. Say out of position instead of slow, very simple. We learned that from our friends at Erin Hills. They really are masters of the experience up there. And yeah, make it supportive rather than confrontational. And then as much fact-based as possible, and that's obviously where data helps you. And yeah, we need to look at our KPIs and hold our team accountable. You can even motivate them, say, hey, let's have a no incidents day here, right? No bad times today. And if we do that, here's XYZ performance perk for you. And it goes a long way because remember, we get control of the day to day. We look at the data, look for improvement opportunities. We're dialing up optimization and finding more tea times. We make more money, right? So there's lots to be considered here around investment. Okay, point number 4, understand your market position and your golfer expectations. Benchmarking, right? It's not just about us, it's about us in a context of a competitive market. How do you guys help with that?
Yeah, so basically by providing you context into your own data. When you sign up for using the Players First tool, you basically give some background information about yourself. We are also integrated into the NGF database, so a lot of that we already have. But the more we know about you, the better we can give you context in the world that goes around you. We can both build demographics benchmarks where you can drill down to whether it's facility type, course type, number of holes, whether it's regional, national, state, whatever it makes sense for you to compare your benchmark to. Also, if you take the next slide, another way of looking at benchmark is also ranking. We do not publish any individual club scores, but we showcase them anonymously so you can benchmark yourself up against whatever segment you have chosen. So you would
Mhm.
actually know that in Arizona, I'm currently ranked 112 out of 200 golf courses. It's so you can, set your target for next year. Or if you're a multi-course operator, you can have a view of all your courses like that and single out each course and make sure that everyone is keeping up to par on that.
Mhm. Yeah, and then obviously you can then look at what are the 3 or 4 things that make the biggest difference that we can do better on Monday, right? And then what are the bigger structural changes we need to make over the next year or two, right? But having data to guide that is critical. Yeah, we've done the same for a number of years, and one of the ways in which we try and acknowledge all this good work that the operators are doing is we've got awards around that, and it's purely based on data and data performance. But we now feel like we have critical mass to really look at how can we help motivate operators to do better, one, but also then use their performance as a competitive advantage, right? So here's a course up in Connecticut, and their average round time is 3:46. Why would they not want to tell everyone about that, right? Because they put the effort in. And of course, that needs to be normalized versus how long is this course, what's the slope rating, and so on. Um, and and we can then benchmark against other private clubs, or we can benchmark results. We can benchmark daily fees. We can look at how do you rank within your region or within your state. And a lot of the operators that are proactive around this, they see the business benefit because obviously players talk, right? And they feel and their time is respected at your course, and they have a good experience, and there's consistency in the quality of experience. They want to come back there, and you can have the right also to charge more. And again, like we said, control gives you opportunity to create more tea times. So we want to understand our local ecosystem. So what's your competitive landscape like, and how can you create an experience that really makes you stand out a bit? Use data to recognize these opportunities. So that's where that post-round data really comes in play, because the players will tell you, right? And yeah, you can then market your facility smartly. So with our benchmark, you can really, you can say, hey, we're top 20% in state when it comes to rounds on pace, or top 10 nationally, or our August results for our 6 minutes, or we're a diamond partner because we put so much effort in it. So there's lots of opportunities because players will make a decision to go to one course or another based on that, and also what they obviously read online on Google and Golf Advisor and so on. So, okay, the last portion is impact golfer sentiment at the most crucial touch points. So not everything we do matters the same, right? Some things make people deliriously happy, and other things will completely break everything else that we've built. And there's fantastic research here that was done by the USGA, and they really looked at that whole ecosystem from engage, that is pre-round, arrive at the course, out on the golf course, exit, that is post-round at the course, and then extend. How do we engage with and extend our interaction with players after the round? So this is obviously where players first gathers their data, right? And what they found is that the pace of play out of 1,000 touch points in the play experience counts the worst if it's not right. Corrective pace of play actions, meaning the marshal comes and says, hey, you're slow, get on with it, is the single most frustrating thing for players. Equally as frustrating as other people's speed. If other people in front of them, and they feel that often, sometimes perception holding them up, everything else gets lost. That is what Morten said earlier. If this is not good, the net promoter score dies a sorry death, right? On the flip side, the single most delight factor in golf is not fantastic conditioning, right? It's etiquette and friendliness by the marshal, by the player assistant. So having these on-course interactions positive, that makes everyone's day, because they don't expect it, because traditionally we haven't been good about it. And the other one that's really good, and obviously conditioning is in there somewhere, but this is certainly top 10, is information provided about pace of play expectations. And the player's perspective is very simple. They all think that they're quick, right? Other people are slow. So they want other people to read that information, right? And know that the course has a plan in place and they've got competency. So those are simple things to consider. Let's repackage the message. Do we need to call our person a marshal, or can there be a player assistant, which takes the sting out of the interaction, and give them data so that they can be successful? Yeah. So tell us a bit about the dashboard that comes with all of these thousands of feedback points that you can gather every week at the course.
Yeah, so basically, I don't think we will have a very high response rate if we were to ask 1,000 questions every time someone has played a round of golf. So basically, we boil down the 1,000 touch points to around 100 for you to pick from in order to what's most suitable for your course. On average, maybe it's around 40 to 50 questions in our or 40 to 50 touch points in our questionnaire. So basically, what we're doing is that we're putting that all that into our machine room, and it calculates what's most important. Basically, it's not always or very seldom the one that scores the lowest. You have to put it into the relation of the overall satisfaction. So if you were to prioritize 1,000 or 100 action points, which 3 or 5 of them would have the biggest impact? Where is it
Mhm.
basically you should invest your next 10 or $100,000 in order to improve the overall golf experience or to
Sure.
remove churn? So basically, we do that for you, and you can filter that down to women in a single age group, and the
Mhm.
priority map would and the dashboard will update and give you what's most important in order for that golfer group.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really think it's essential that we know how did we do, right? And we do that in our business, right? We want to know, are we successful and our operators hitting the right notes in terms of their performance. So tracking data is key. Obviously, the more data you have, the more you can now deploy AI opportunities. How are you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, so one of the biggest opportunities we've seen with AI and tools like ChatGPT is that the ability to look at text in a totally different way. So we've added that into our platform as well. So now you can go through your open comments from all your golfers, uh, just like you're chatting with ChatGPT. And
Mhm.
we have some pre-prompts made for you already that gives you the highlights of, what's the story, what's the sentiment in all these comments coming from all the golfers. On average, a golf course get between 2 and 3 thousand open comments every year, and it's almost impossible for someone to read through them all and act upon them as well.
Sure.
So that's why AI is very good at that.
Okay, so am I right in saying that this is narrow AI? So it's really only fed by this particular course's responses, and
Yeah.
that's where it stays, and it's all secure, right? So if you want to interact with that information, you can just talk to it in a way that AI is now pretty good at. But yeah, nobody else will see what was said, right?
No, so we're building uh, your own secure AI infrastructure, and
Mhm.
basically you can upload other documents into this as well, in order to train the agent.
There you go. Yeah, our team is also working on yeah, data laking all this data that we have and running yeah, predictive preemptive models into that. And it's fascinating the patterns that can be recognized if you have the right tools. Um, yeah. So what does the workflow look like? How do we work with this in our day to day, and what's the impact that this has on the operator?
Yeah, so you could argue that just listening to customers would fix everything, but basically, if you don't listen and actually understand and act upon it, then you're actually in a worse place. Then you shouldn't have asked for feedback to start with. So that's why we always, incentivize, you need to close the loop. So if you ask for feedback, you got the feedback. Now what? Now you have to make actions. But also on uh, single single golfers, we also provide you with contact information for the
Mhm.
golfers. If we have that, they have left it for you too, and also. Ask the golfer whether it's okay for the manager or the golf course to contact you based on your comments. So
Mhm.
so you're not just reaching out to golfers who don't want to be contacted as well. And of course, with we're releasing an AI that can automate this process for you as well. So all that closed loop is going to be automated for you as well.
Amazing. So you're gonna make all of us redundant.
No,
No,
I'm going to make everyone super golf operators.
I think so
So,
too.
so,
Yeah,
so I think that's how we need to look at AI. How can we make everyone super?
yeah. I think it's yeah, it helps us be better, more efficient, right? And it's really tools to be to be successful. And we're seeing this more and more. So it's harder to get talented young assistant pros to join our operation. We have to give them the tools so that they can be successful and help the operation fly. And they're used to doing things on their iPads and on their phones. So give them the toolkit so they can do their job better. And then, yeah, you can do what you need to do as a team, and that is create experiences and build relationships with golfers. And that's where golf is amazing. I don't think there's another game like it. Yeah, so just to close out here, so for us, the game plan is always how can we bring quality controls into what happens on your golf course and really have consistency, and then how do we dial into the data to get more capacity opportunities, and that then turns into repeat play, and there's all the way to how do we track what happens with your sort of maintenance requirements, where the areas on the fairway nobody ever goes to, how can we save money? So there's lots of opportunities that you have with data that really create considerable return of investment. So there's a million reasons why you should listen to the data and dial into these opportunities, because it pays for itself 10, 20, 30 times over to do it, right? So it's not a case of, yeah, we need to spend money on technology just for the sake of it. No, if there's a business case, then you're not going to do it. But there certainly is, and obviously the stories speak for themselves, including net promoter score gains that are considerable. So a lot of you would have dialed in from the PGA Met section. This is a partner affiliate event with them. So anyone from the Met section, you'll get an automatic PDR credit. Unfortunately, we cannot give you a credit if you are outside of that section, but we have really awesome online learning material that's sometimes just half an hour long, that we have available on our learning management platform that is PGA accredited. So just listening to that for half an hour, or doing a bit of reading, questions not difficult, you can get your credit through the back door here, if you will. And you will always learn something, right? So we have 3 accredited courses, a very quick way to get your credit, because I know that you're obviously using this time of year to educate yourself, and this is a good way to get additional credit. So we want to thank you for your time, Morten. Fantastic to get all the data insights. I know you've got big plans with your partnership with the NGF into the year, and wrapping up 2025 data with them. We'd love to continue the conversation, but we're hitting the hour mark and 5 minutes over now. If you have any questions about our systems, or any questions about some of these takeaways, do feel free to reach out to us or the team, and we'll be happy to help and make sure that you're good and ready for a big 2026 season. Morten, thank you. Enjoy
Thank
your
you, Bodo.
festive season break, and we'll see you at the PGA show.
All right. See ya.
Amazing. I've got some Q&A questions. Maybe we can. Josh says, "Don't rush it. He wants more data." I think we did okay here. Ronald, does a walking mode also communicate the data? So the two-way, and this is a question for Tagmarshal, the two-way is the cart installed option, right? The walkers, there's obviously courses that do both cart and walking, and we've got a lot of Scottish courses do walking only, and they use caddies. So there's ways to communicate with the caddies. But the walking mode is more of a passive tracking for now, right? Because we know that our walking players don't necessarily want to engage with the with the unit. We have tested this. So we find it's best to have a strategic intervention that is based on data. Josh, you've got a question here. Do the number of the mature golfers based upon their expectations have negative influence on younger players' experience? The younger players may want music, technology, they're less about tournament play, they want more fun. Maybe that's a question for you, Morten. How do you marry these two worlds?
Yeah, I think that's the problem we need to solve. I think that's golf's biggest problem. How do we merge such two different expectations into the same product right now? And I think the issue is right now that many golf courses are actually just offering this one product. You need to segment out, even though if you're an 18-hole course, as Bodo just explained, you can really divide it into different products during the day or during the week. And I think it's super interesting. So a quick answer is yes, it does affect, because if that's the world you are being presented with when you come into the golf course, it's not necessarily what makes you stay.
Sure. Look, I mean, golf has traditionally done this, right? It's very often there's ladies' morning, or it's juniors' afternoon, or it's the club competition that happens once a week, right? So there's already segmentation, but we can take this further, right? Just understanding that there's different types of audiences that if we communicate well with them, and obviously a lot of your T-sheets now have marketing engines that will help you do that. You want to get to the low handicappers, give them a specific segment, and get them to fly across the golf course. They will love it, right? They can get onto their first Zoom call on a Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. They will come every Thursday, right? But if they don't know if it might be a 4.5, 5 hours, and it takes longer than the expectation, then they have to say no and be safe rather, right? So this is where the segmentation control comes in. Yeah, these are great questions. Really appreciate it. Josh has got time. It has also always been an interesting thing about pace, as golfers want to play golf and then they rush through to get their round completed. We once performed a survey and golfers said they wanted to play in 3.5 hours and 7 hours. Hard to meet these varying expectations. So some said, give me 3.5. Others said, I don't care if it takes a whole day. Obviously, you're quite right. You need to then do what's right for your business, right? It's your business. And if the three players that want to play 7 hours, maybe they're not your best customers, right? And just also zone in on the customers that you want and the golfers that you want to see here for the years into the future, and create those experiences over time. And we've seen many courses turn themselves around, and the private clubs are great examples here, right? They always need to rejuvenate their membership, and then they need to create different experiences for them. A daily fee golf course can do the same. It's about communication and marketing that, and then delivering on the experience. Okay, we're gonna jump off. Thank you so much for the great questions. Really appreciate it. And you must have a fantastic festive season, and hopefully we'll see many of you at the PGA show in Orlando, which is a scary 40 days away now, right? Okay, yeah. Thanks everybody.